In this video, I'm going to show how to set up a high-quality voiceover segment inside of your YouTube video. Here's the complete chain of effects that I'm using on this vocal in order. We have a high-pass filter, that's to control low-end rumble. We have an equalizer, that's used to improve the sound of the vocal. We have our first compressor here, and that's being used as general leveling for the vocal sound. We're using the de-esser to take out some of the harsh S sounds in the vocal. We're using a second compressor just to control the peaks of the vocal sound. And finally, we have a limiter being used to add some additional volume and prevent clipping of the signal at the same time. Starting off inside the vocal channel, we have this high-pass filter. A high-pass lets all frequencies above the setting of the filter pass through. It lets the highs pass while cutting out the lows. We move from the high-pass filter into the equalizing section. Here's it off, here's it on. With this EQ, I've made a few adjustments to gently roll off a little bit more of the low end, and I've also rolled off some harshness in this 2.53K area and a little of the high-end brightness as well. My natural speaking voice as it was recorded was coming off a bit bright and reedy sounding. These adjustments help my voice sound a little bit deeper, richer, and warmer, which is always nice to hear in a voiceover. The EQ and the high-pass filter are working together in this case. Next up after the equalizer, we have our very first compressor. With this compressor, my objective was to smooth out the vocal sound in a natural sounding way while also adding a bit of volume. Because I'm going for a natural vocal sound with my speaking voice here, this compressor isn't triggering especially hard, but it is bringing up the softer parts of my speaking voice a bit and making those easier to listen to. Next up, we move on to this dialogue processor. In this particular video editing program, I only use this particular plugin for its de-esser. A de-esser is used to control just the harsh S sounds of the vocal. After our de-esser, we add in our second compressor. This compressor is set to only manage any peaking parts of the vocal sound that are jumping out. I've got the threshold point set here so that the compressor is only triggering in the spots where the vocal is jumping out a bit, like when I get a little bit excited when I'm speaking, and it's bringing down just those peaky sounds. This will help smooth out the sound of the vocal even more. It makes it sound even less jabby and even more natural, and it also helps me make the overall mix a bit louder. I can push the level on everything higher without having to worry about clipping my whole mix because of a vocal track that's jumping out. After our second compressor, we move to the final effect in our effects chain. We have our limiter plugin. This limiter is being used as our final volume knob to bring our whole mix up to the final level, and it's also controlling any potential clipping of our audio at the same time. The limiter will prevent the audio signal from moving over this line here and will keep us from clipping our mix. Here's the complete A to B before and after with all of these different effects on versus all of them off. You're about to hear a large volume change between these two versions, and you might want to turn your listening device down just a little bit. Digital audio workstation of your choice. You're going to check for macro time alignment, so is everything playing at the right time, and micro time alignment, phase, on all of your audio assets. If you're working within a more limited tool set, something like Apple's GarageBand, you might not be able to check phase, and that's okay. Just do the best you can with whatever tools you have. Next, you're going to pull down the volume of all of your tracks to give yourself plenty of headroom to work with while we're mixing. And that's basic audio for YouTube, how to set up a basic voiceover vocal processing chain inside of your video editing software to help improve the sound of your YouTube videos.